He is Jalen Rose.
What up, doe?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together, we are a duo known as Jalen and Jacoby. What is it
that
we do?
Give the people what they want.
Jalen, The Last Dance has concluded about 3 days ago, but the impact still reverberates. The latest we have is from Horace Grant with some strong words about the documentary.
Let's settle it like, man, let's talk about it, or we can settle it another way. It's only a grudge, man. I'm telling you, it was only a grudge. And I think he proved that during this so-called documentary when if you say something about him, he's going to cut you off. He's going to try to destroy your character. My point is that he said I was a snitch, but yet and still after 35 years, he brings up his rookie year going into former teammates' room and seeing coke and weed and women. My point is, why in the hell did he want to bring that up? What's that got to do with anything? I mean, if you want to call somebody a snitch, that's a damn snitch right there.
Ooh, Jalen, does Horace Grant have a bit of a point about The Last Dance?
This is an exact science of why money can't buy love. And so many times we think winning and success and championships buy harmony, but in a lot of cases, it's just the opposite. And as an NBA alum, it's unfortunate for me to see that these successful gentlemen who accomplish so much aren't seeing eye to eye. But the one thing about doing a documentary or writing a book is there's a story to be told. And what's going to happen is you make people relive things from their past that are painful to them, in particular, sometimes around people. They could be family, friends, your neighbors that don't necessarily know that happened. And now you feel you have to relitigate something that was painful to you in your life. But he didn't have to tell all of Scotty's warts. I agree with that. A couple of things could have got left out because that's his Robin, so to speak. But ain't no way to tell a story without having good characters and bad characters. And it's just unfortunate. But lastly, I'll have to admit, Jacoby, and tell me how you feel about this. As somebody that's produced the Fab Five doc, that's written a best-selling book, when you start to tell a story from beginning to end, there's going to be some casualties. There's going to be some people who are unhappy with how you told the story from your version.
Of course, everybody remembers things different. You know what I mean? I think especially when you have a documentary like this, the main character is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He did multiple interviews, and he is the narrator that carries the narrative. Everybody's view of something that you had a collective experience about in the past is going to be different. That's just how it works. You see this with all documentaries. And the Horace Grant, he's not going to get the same screen time as Michael Jordan is over a course of 10 hours because it's about Michael Jordan. But one thing that you did mention, which I thought was interesting, is Horace Grant kind of took a little bit of a notice of how Scottie Pippen was treated, and Scottie Pippen himself hasn't really spoken about the documentary. Do you think Horace has a point that Scottie Pippen wasn't treated fairly in this project?
I do, because, and we love Jason there, and I know he was telling MJ's story, and he did a terrific job. But what ends up happening is Scottie became collateral damage in the story because it exposed all of his warts to a new audience. Now he has to relitigate the pain, and this should be something that he's able to celebrate. Winning 6 championships, 1998 documentary out. Mm-hmm. He should be on every TV, every radio station, enthusiastic about this being out. So it's disappointing that he can't enjoy it. And as somebody that loves Scottie, he my OG. I got a chance to play against him in Chicago, and I told you how he felt that level of pain about it back then. And also, one of the things Horace said that I want to make sure I address. Everybody knew that drugs was rampant in the early 80s. So if you're going to tell the story of Michael Jordan and tie it into what the league was like in 1984 when he got into the league, that was the NBA. And the one thing MJ didn't do was name names. So everything to me that got said too much about Scottie, but it did happen for professional consumption. Same thing with Horace. Those things happen for professional consumption. He's not telling some stories off wax about things that they did.
Well, Jalen, I mean, the legacy of all these Hall of Famers has been adjusted because of this documentary, but I care very little about that in comparison to how much I care about the pizza. And we have an update about the pizza that led to the flu
You're going to get to the bottom of this, ain't you?
We have a gentleman named Greg Kite who claims to be the man who delivered the pizza. Let's listen to the proposed pizza man.
I was the only Bulls fan in the store. I was like, hey, I will make the pizza. And I remember saying this, I'll make the pizza because I don't want any of you doing anything to it. The crap story that the guy said that there were 5 people, there was 2 of us, and I didn't even have that many people working. Obviously, the pizza has basically never left me. It's been around me the whole time. The next day, Costas comes up and says that he got food poisoning from pizza or whatever. So I said some colorful words.
Craig Fight, who works at a Pizza Hut in Park City. He says he's a Bulls fan. He gets the call. He thinks it's going to be a Chicago Bull. I listened to all of his interviews. I know everything about Craig Fight. You know what? I kind of believe him, Jalen. Do you think there were 5 people at the door like Tim says? Or do you think there was 2 people at the door like Craig says? Do you think that perhaps the pizza was spiked or poisoned in some way like they suggest in Michael Jordan's camp? Or do you think that it was watched by a careful eye of a Bulls fan, as Craig says? Who do you believe?
You know, Horace Grant kind of alluded to it. You know, sometimes the older you get, the longer the walk was to school. And then the next day, it was like 2 people outside the door. And then like 25, 30 years later, it's 5 people outside the door. You know how this works. And also, they could be people that actually work for the hotel or security that brought them up. So when you open the door, you look out and you see multiple people. But that ain't the story. The story is this gentleman's a Bulls fan. He was in Utah, and he wanted to make sure MJ or whoever got the pizza and nothing happened to it. So it goes back to what I've been trying to tell the world forever. If you're out or in a hotel and it's past 11 and you're having drinks and you're gambling and you're smoking cigars, likely it's going to affect your stomach differently in 1998 than it would in 1993. What do you think about that?
Well, here's what I know, and I'm going to represent all of the current and former pizza chefs around the world and say, when you really care about a pie, there's no chance anything goes wrong with that pie. He was with that pie the entire time. He treated that pie like they treat the Oscar winners at the Oscars. Like that pie was a clean pie, and I just want to stand up for all pizza chefs around the world, my brethren. There's nothing we would ever do to compromise the pie, no matter who it's for. When we come back, the NFL has proposed some changes to the Rooney Rule. We'll detail that and much more as we keep it moving. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, there's a lot in the news today. We can't get to it all, so this segment, you decide, but we discuss. It's time to keep it moving. If you want to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me and Method Man keep it moving. We start with this, an adjustment to the Rooney Rule in the NFL. Keep it moving or hit the
brakes.
Well, they're not going to incentivize teams with draft position to hire minority coaches, but they are making some changes. Teams are required to interview 2 minority candidates for head coach vacancies and at least 1 for vacant coordinator positions. Jalen, the Rooney Rule hasn't been that effective to this point. Do you think this will change things in the NFL?
I support the NFL trying to do something about a problem that they understand persists in their league as it relates to hiring minorities. And I strongly disagree with anyone, especially a Black person, that feels like this isn't progress and this isn't the job you would want under these circumstances. Let me teach everybody something about corporate America. A lot of times you may be making a quota and you don't even realize it. The point is to get as many people in power as possible. And once that happens, then you do your deal. You take care of your business like Mike Tomlin did. You take care of your business like Flores is going to continue to do as he coaches in Miami. Like Ozzie Newsome did in the front office for so many years with the Ravens. That's what you do. And so I'm actually disappointed that they're not also incentivizing teams to do so. I'm happy that it's going to be more coordinators getting meetings. But you know what? Eric Bieniemy is a coordinator of what team?
Well,
the
Jalen,
Kansas City Chiefs. who have the best team and the best record in the NFL. I would like to see the draft pick thing happen that was being discussed about the third rounders.
I'm glad you brought up Eric Bieniemy because he had something to say about my new favorite player in the NFL, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
You know, I know that's your guy, but we're going to keep it moving for now. Don't sleep on Dobbins with the Ravens, too.
Keep it moving.
Ryan Fitzpatrick talked about what life would be like playing with Tua Tagovailoa. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
I can't believe we didn't take Tua. Keep it moving. I'm just confused.
We got to keep moving. I don't want to see you cry. Tom Glavine brought some interesting perspective on the potential of an MLB season.
Hit the brakes. I love that ATL pitching staff.
Well, one thing I loved about what he said is he said that if the MLB season is called off, a lot of people will look at the players and some of the vocal players like Bryce Harper and Snell that have said that they wouldn't take less money. And he thinks that perhaps if it doesn't happen, the players could take the blame. Do you agree with Glavine?
Ooh, like Stevie Wonder said, I'm about to put a ribbon in the sky. You remember everything we said about the NFL? It's just the opposite for baseball players. They have a level of privilege with their sport that does not exist with the NBA and the NFL. And if a player for one of those leagues came out and said some of the things you just acknowledged that those MLB players said, they would be getting killed in the media and by fans. But you know what else baseball have? The best union in sports and leverage. And usually it used to be hidden behind cold words like America's pastime. But they don't have restriction after high school. They make 2 times more money than NFL players. You can sign a long-term contract for as many years as you want. They don't have a salary cap. They don't have a dress code. Remember the NBA was trying to give a dress code? They don't punish you for marijuana. I've been saying these things for years, Jacoby.
Jalen, you know
and
what?
So
I think we finally just figured out why Michael Jordan went to play baseball for all those reasons that you just listed. It had nothing to do with the death of his father.
He made the same money. He made the same money.
Speaking of Michael Jordan, in North Carolina, there's a hotel that's going to offer a replica of Michael Jordan's freshman hotel room. Hit the brakes, keep moving. You've already decided to hit the brakes. Would you want to stay in a hotel that is a recreation of Michael Jordan's freshman dorm?
I would not. But just think about collegiate sports. Just think about the fervor, the enthusiasm that fans and alums and supporters have for collegiate football and basketball. In particular, Michael, Jeffrey, Air Jordan. That room is going to stay full and sold out. It's going to be the highest priced room in the hotel, and it's going to be occupied all of the time.
I still have PTSD from the conditions at my freshman dorm room. I do not want to relive that. Jalen, one thing the NFLPA wants to hit the brakes on is the potential of a return to action in the NFL. I'll explain. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, as we all gear up for what feels like the inevitable return of the NBA and the NFL, the NFLPA president J.C. Tretter said, hit the brakes on that for a second. There's a lot of hurdles that we need to get over in order to protect the players and keep them safe amid the coronavirus in this highly contact sport. What do you think about this statement from the president of the NFLPA?
Saying what he should be saying, representing the best interest of the 1,300 or so players that he represents. However, when he got done with that interview, he looked at his emails, he looked down at his text messages, and trust me, those players want to play football. And I know he's going to do what he can to go to bat against the league to make sure that all safety measures are in tow. I understand what he said. Football contradicts social distancing, and that's absolutely true. But if they can play football, those players will play football, and he will be overruled every time.
There's a lot of financial motivation to do so. It is time for me and you to break down a video in detail that I have a lot of questions about. Let's go to the table. Jalen, check out this video of Jason Derulo. Simply, is this fake? Let's take a look. So he's using a drill to eat corn, something I've seen before, but watch his teeth, watch his teeth, watch his teeth.
Oh!
Is that fake? You have veneers.
I feel like that's real. I feel like that's real, especially if he got veneers. And if somebody that eats a lot of corn, popcorn in particular, I saw it kind of jump up. It jumped around on him, and he got caught up.
It did. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Right up next, you have Dan Le Batard and his friends at Highly Questionable.
DJ turn it loud and watch me turn it up. So DJ turn it loud and watch me turn it up. So DJ turn it loud and watch me turn it up. Don't worry about it, we get it right. 我用你的名字让你的主角喝醉的甘愿，也会哭的情愿。